To the press review a little earlier than normal because, of course, events unfolding, as it were. Dipti, you've been looking at a lot of the comments, of course, about the ceasefire. A lot of uncertainty in the press today.
Yeah, absolutely. We can show you the New York Times. This is what was on the front page of the New York Times early Tuesday, Stuart. Very speculative language, very cautious language as well. You see here, Iran announces ceasefire, but status is unclear. No comment from Israel, which warns of continued Iranian attacks, and even that ceasefire announcement by Donald Trump catching his own top officials by surprise. Iranian state television made the announcement of a ceasefire hours after Donald Trump's comments. A similar kind of speculative language on the Washington Post here. Iran appears to confirm it'll cease attacks on Israel, it says. Meanwhile, for Haaretz, the center-left Israeli daily, you have it here. This was what was on their website earlier. 6 waves of missiles since daybreak, deadly strikes in Israel hours after Trump claims the ceasefire was agreed to. So a lot of changing language, a lot of cautious language, speculative, and quite a bit of confusion around that ceasefire.
You found a very exclusive report as well, haven't you, Dipti, which looks at what Donald Trump is particularly wary of the Iranian threat.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll see if I can find a few. It's from the National Review, Stuart, and it's a very interesting article, which doesn't seem to be coming up on my screen here for some reason. In any case, it's a very interesting article that talks about how U.S. strikes against Iran seem to, if that seemed to be sort of an escalation in tensions, well, it's very personal for Donald Trump, at least. The conservative U.S. magazine National Review explaining that Donald Trump and his team have taken the Iranian threat against him very seriously, and it dates back to 2020 with the assassination of Qasem Soleimani, the commander at the time of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. As far back as 2022, Donald Trump's team even canceled certain international events for fear of exposing him to Iranian threats and not being able to ensure his security. The review even says that the failed Pennsylvania assassination attempt on Trump never yielded a culprit. That was the attack last year, but that senior campaign staff suspected may have been part of an Iranian murder for hire plot. Now, all of this sort of takes on new importance given Donald Trump's green lighting of those strikes against Iran. The National Review saying that those who have worked for Trump for years speculate that the regime's assassination plots against him have, quote, hardened his resolve against Iran.
Lots of analysis in the press today as well about the ramifications of the conflict, of course, taking a new side, I suppose, after the announcement from Israel in the last hour.
Yeah, absolutely. There was quite a bit of interesting analysis from the Financial Times, which said that the last 48 hours have been a real headspin. On Sunday, Donald Trump declaring a change in regime in Tehran. On Monday, he called for a complete ceasefire. It appears, at least for the Financial Times, that the trigger for this about face was the limited nature of Iran's response. It attacked U.S. military base in Qatar, but gave notice beforehand. You also have the National and Emirati paper, and I'm sorry, my articles don't seem to be popping up today, Stuart, but I'm going to get through it anyway. The National and Emirati paper saying that, here it is, saying that it's clear that Donald Trump has gone from a, quote, peacemaker to a wartime president. And it notes that it's a rather biting coincidence, this is the article I'm talking about here, because just after he authorized those U.S. strikes on Iran, Pakistan had announced that it would be putting his name forward for a Nobel Peace Prize for his, quote, pivotal leadership and peacemaker role in the recent Kashmir conflict. If Donald Trump's goal by attacking Iran was peace, well, then this was a spectacular success. That's what The Guardian's cartoonist says, rather ironically, with this cartoon of the U.S. president depluming this poor dove bird here.
Finally from you, Dipti, all this comes, of course, as NATO leaders are preparing to meet in Brussels later today for a summit. We're going to talk about it a lot with Charlotte in a moment and hear from our correspondent in Brussels a little bit later on, but that's been covered too.
Yeah, it's on the front of La Croix, the French paper. NATO under pressure, it says. And in this sidebar here, the editorial, the paper says that the conflict in the Middle East has forced a change in the order of things being discussed at the summit, and it will cause an upheaval in European defense. The bloc believed their priority was to focus on the main threat to what they thought was their main threat to European security. That's Vladimir Putin. Things are quickly shifting now. The editors at the Washington Post using this occasion to reiterate an argument that Donald Trump has said as well, which is that Europe needs to do more to assure its own defense, and that notably means spending more. Spain has already rejected NATO's calls for the alliance to dedicate 5% of its national budgets to defense spending. And as it stands for the moment, at least, Spain could be exempted from that. A somewhat exasperated post saying that Spain's obstinance gives Trump fodder to call into question the US's commitment to NATO and gives other European countries a chance to drag their feet as well. As Politico advises here in this article, if you ask European officials, the goal is simple at this summit: keep it short, keep it smooth, and keep Donald Trump from blowing it all up. Stuart.
Bit like Dipti's press review. Dipti can roll with the paper
Thanks a lot.
here after Max 24.